Have you ever been made to feel you were not good enough, not pretty enough, not smart enough, not enough? You were created with a specific purpose and with a specific design. Christian Women Television Network is created with you in mind. It is a place for Christian women to amplify their voice and level up their media exposure while making a massive impact on the world through your mission-driven calling. Welcome to your network, Christian Women Television Network, a legacy production.
Welcome to Curves, where we are creating unforgettable resources, value, and empowerment status for Christian women entrepreneurs. Now, here's our host, DrFaye.
Well, welcome everyone to Curves. Yes, you heard that right. We are creating unforgettable resources, value, and empowerment status for you, the Christian woman entrepreneur, because we believe that there is a specific place for Christian women in the marketplace. We believe that it is your time, like Esther's, who've come to the kingdom for such a time as this. And I want you to know that every week we will feature women just like you who are movers and shakers, who love God, who love the Word of God, and are out here to do good and to serve humanity from the highest place possible. And one of those guests they're here today. She is a phenomenal, powerful entrepreneur. I've known her for some time right now. We met in a different group, and when I met this guest, I tell you, she just blew me away with her persona, her love for God, and the way she presents herself in business as a professional. And she works with entrepreneurs all over the world, especially those who are in professions. And she will tell you more about that in a moment. But right now, let me do a professional introduction. Antoniette Rose is she is a health and wellness expert, and she's hired by entrepreneurs to turn their expertise into a global movement that will generate massive impact and prosperity. How many of you could use massive impact and prosperity in your life? I know I love it, and I know that there are many, many, many of you who absolutely are going to be blown away with what Antoniette has to say. She helped me to pronounce her name well, because I know so many Antoinettes. Antoniette is different. Founder and former producer of the Texas Natural Wellness Expos, Antoniette is now a leading positioning strategist for whole body doctors. Wow, you got to talk to me about that. Whole body doctors and lifestyle health experts. Now, I want you to put your virtual hands together and welcome to Curves, my friend and colleague, Antoniette Rose. Hi.
Hi, Dr. Faye. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a blessing. Thank you for being here. So I want you to just dive in and talk a little bit about what you do, because you can introduce yourself better than anybody else because this is your heart, this is your passion, this is your mission. And so tell us exactly what does all of this mean, a health and wellness expert and working with working with other experts?
Well, I recognized being in the health and wellness field and producing large-scale wellness events of my own for many years, the largest and the most known being the Texas Natural Wellness Expos. I got to put amazing speakers from all over the globe on stages. But something I realized was they were underheard, they were undervalued, and generally when they got on the stage, they just kind of poured out a bunch of information on people without really having a direction. So what I decided was to switch gears a little bit, and especially when it comes to the kingdom, right? And when it comes to our health and wellness, they go hand in hand where I'm concerned, right? We want to be the healthiest we can for the longest we can to do the work that we've been put on this earth to do. So I I realized the biggest way that I could get those voices out there and that knowledge of the best options for whatever it might be, Crohn's disease, weight loss, diabetes, whatever it is, the best way for me to make that global impact that I wanted to do was to give voices to the practitioners who are the ones that are actually doing the work. So that's my mission. That's to get everyone on the planet to know what their best options are when it comes to their own health and well-being. So I do that by training them how to get onto stages, how to get into networks like your beautiful network, and how to get media mentions, how to win the awards that they deserve, and all of the above. And what I've really seen is that the sadly, the underheard person is the woman. And I've really appreciated the opportunity to be able to get their voices on stages.
Wow, that is, oh, you gave me chills just talking about that, Antoinette, almost to the point of tears, because even women do not realize yet how our voices have been undervalued. And partly that is due to religious culture, because the woman is told to be silent and to that you're the better half, or and all of this half and these mixtures that we get in our culture. And so we walk in these stilettos as as women, but we don't know the power that God has given us. And it's time for us to be awakened to that. And that's what my desire is for this television show, as well as the network, Christian Women Television Network, is to stir us up, get us on fire, get us into the places consciously that we have been empowered by God for this era, this time in history, unlike any other time before. We've come out of a pandemic. We are still in wars and rumors of wars and chaos and confusion. So, we as women, it's time for us to give birth to our greater selves. And you're working with people who actually are hands on in the health and wellness industry, doctors and others who need the value of this platform, as well as other platforms like what you're doing, to get their voices out there and so that they can be heard. You mentioned those that have that personal contact, those hands-on people, and you're educating them and empowering them with to get on stages around the world with their messages. Health and wellness, often by women, is the second thing. Is it's not the first thing. It's for others, but we don't put ourselves there. Can
That's
you
so
talk about
true.
that a little bit?
That's so true. And not only is self-care put below our boss and our mate and our children and our sisters and our neighbors, we do place our self-care below all of that. And just like when you're flying on an airplane, what does the stewardess tell you to do? Put your mask on first, and then you are more equipped and more powerful to be able to help others. And as women, we really need to get to that understanding. One thing that I've seen is a lack of really understanding their value as a woman and their power as a woman. So for instance, we might think, well, I'm a little heavier than I want to be, or I don't have a natural presence on the stage. What kind of value do I have to offer? And to that I say, it's not a shame blame, but it's a, hey, snap out of it, because only you have your point of view. Only you have your God-given gifts. Only you have your voice. Only you have the message that will change the lives of the people meant to hear you. So forget about the weight, forget about the eloquence, forget about all the things that you feel matter. None of that matters.
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
voice matters. So get
yeah.
get yourself out there, own it, and get yourself out there. Warren Buffett said that to create 50% more value in your business, 50% more value as an expert in your industry, all you have to do is speak. All you have to do is get in front of an audience, and instantly you have increased your income, you've increased your value in the minds of those who are listening to you, and you've also exponentially increased your impact just by speaking. Speaking is a skill that can be learned. Your point
Yeah.
of view and who you are and the message that you have to offer, you can't teach You can't give that to anybody else. It's yours. It's the one God gave you, and just own it and get yourself out there.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so easy to get out there right now. I mean, people are doing lives, shorts, reels, whatever it takes to get out there. And I'm watching people come forth for the first time in their lives. I mean, since the inception of social media, it's like, oh, I'm doing my first Facebook Live, and they get a little jitters about it. But, I applaud people who would dare say, I have value, I have a story. Because if you've been on this planet for any length of time, give yourself a couple of decades, you've got a story, and somebody wants to hear that. And I always say this, Antoinette, that I am not everybody's cup of a Starbucks cup of coffee, but I am somebody's Starbucks, and people laugh at that because I know that as long as I'm opening my mouth and I'm getting in front of this camera, I'm going to reach somebody, and somebody's life will be impacted just as lives are being impacted. And every time you as a coach or I as a coach reach out to people and teach and train and motivate our clients, they in turn go and reach others. So this kingdom, there is no end. There's a continuum here. So I know that both of us are really radical about getting our messages out there for that purpose, because we know what a difference it will make in the lives of people around us. Now, looking at the stats, we know that there are at least 7 billion people on this planet, and almost a half of those are women. Think about those numbers. About a half of those are women. Women are the number one purchasers. Women are the number one nurturers. Women are the number ones. I mean, when you think about heads of household, they're women. And so it is only fitting that we tailor programs and tailor networks and tailor, stages around the voices of women. So, Antoinette, back to you on reaching and sharing your story, your personal story with women. I believe our personal stories, that's our glory. And to share the personal story, even though it's nasty, it's ugly, sometimes shame comes with it, guilt comes with it, fear comes with it. Tell us how important it is to move past all of that baggage and tell it anyway.
Right, absolutely. For every a bad story you might have about yourself, there are people living in shame. There are people who are being held down, men and women and children and teenagers being held back because they have traveled maybe through what you have traveled, or they've traveled through something worse, and they feel like that's taken away their value, that has taken away their voice. And that's absolutely untrue. We need to own what we've been through, own our mistakes, own our victories, and utilize that as our message, as our platform. That is where the power is. Okay, so I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
When I ask you what is the oldest profession in the world, what comes to mind? Well, I'm not even going to make you answer that. Most people thought the very, very same thing. And in truth, the oldest profession in the world is speaking. The
Yeah.
highest paid profession in the world is speaking, getting your voice out there. And why is that? People crave voice. They crave to know your story.
Mhm.
Scrappy is the new perfect. People are not feeling perfect after 2020, right? We all
Right.
had the rug pulled out from underneath our feet. We're not feeling perfect. We don't want polished and perfect. We want real. And
Yeah.
so your story comes from a raw place, and it can help countless untold others. The only caution I give there is that you speak from the place of healed. So you have journeyed through something, you're at a place of healed, right? Speak from
Mhm.
that place. If something is still raw and you're still working through it, hold off on that. But there's plenty that you've been through, that you have had victory over, that you can help others step out of. Be authentic, be who you are. You can let people know maybe you're struggling with overeating or whatever it might be still, and you're
Mhm.
working through that. But as far as when you're sharing the victory, when you're really motivating and inspiring, own what you've been through
Mhm.
and stand on that. You've heard a little bit of my story. It was pretty radical story, but that's the platform I stand on now, and that has enabled me to do the work that I do.
Yeah. I believe in that. Just thinking about that over the past few weeks, Antoniette, I have really examined my motives for doing what I do, the values that I place on it. Is it for me or is it for those I'm called to serve? And to keep that balance and not go after the money, but go after serving and have that as the motivating factor. And you've heard this as well as many other people have heard it. Your why. What is your why? Because if your why is big enough, you will pursue it. And usually the why is money related for most people, have some type of monetary value. But my why keeps getting bigger. And because as long as I see needs, I pass my whys every day when I see people struggling. I see my whys in my social media groups when people are crying out for prayer and for help. Those are my whys. And so that moves me to continue to do what I am doing. And I was guilty of of something that you mentioned earlier. I was so guilty of it because I kept feeling the call to be on camera, to do this. And because I've been in television for a number of years, but for some reason, I was feeling this resistance on the inside of me. And I didn't know why. I can't even explain it to you even now, except to say that I had to push past it because I had gone through this whole thing of weight bearing, you know, getting, just gaining weight and going through this whole process. And you know what? One day it just hit me. Forget about that. It's not that big of a deal. You need to do what you've been called to do because people are hurting. And as long as I stayed back or made excuses for not doing it, then people were still hurt because you'll reach people that I'll never reach. I'll reach people that you'll never reach. People who are watching us, you ladies and gentlemen, will reach people that Antoniette and I will never reach. But so therefore it is imperative that you move forward in whatever it is, and don't think it's so small that it doesn't matter, because everything matters. I mean, I've seen all kinds of businesses be birthed and inventions that come forth and you think, oh my God, there was a need for that. Oh, I'm glad somebody came up with that idea. From speaking gigs to television, podcasting, writing books, whatever yours may be, just know, just because you deliver a small baby, that doesn't put any less value on your 6-pound baby as it does on someone with a 12-pound baby. Your baby is your baby, and your delivery is your delivery. So back to you, Antoinette.
I love the way
Antoinette.
you said that. And you know what? Thank you for you brought up something. It's something that I repeat a lot. It's a little term I've coined, and that is prosperity comes in the purpose. The purpose does not come in the prosperity. So when you are walking out your purpose, you will prosper. God will bless you because you're getting out there and you're doing your work. Prosperity is different, it has a different meaning to you than it has to me. Prosperity to me might be more time to hike in the mountains. One of my favorite, I love to hunt for waterfalls that nobody else has discovered, or at least not very many people. That's prosperity to me, to have that kind of time and to have the financial stability to be able to make those trips. Prosperity to someone else might be owning a great big house or some fancy cars, whatever that might be. But if that becomes your purpose, you're never really going to, you're going to miss the mark. So
Yeah.
just like you said earlier, focus on that purpose and focus on the people that you are put on this planet to help. And the prosperity just comes. That should never be our focus. I I shudder to think the number of people whose lives could have really been changed had I gotten myself out there sooner, had I gotten over my shoulds, like we should all over ourselves. I should lose weight. I should look better. I should talk better, right? Stop shoulding all over your place, all over yourself, and just get out there and do it. Uh,
Yeah.
Perfection comes in the progress. When you're out there doing the thing, then you
Hmm.
get more refined. But really, that's not what people are looking for. They're looking for that authentic message that only you have to share.
Yeah, and the key is authentic. When you move forward with integrity and stop measuring yourself by someone else, because that right there makes you That's truly false. You want to be as real as to the core as you possibly can be, because the world needs that. That's your energy, that's your source of power, that's your influence right there. When you are being true to yourself, then you can't be false to anyone else. And I didn't make that up. It's actually when be true to yourself, and you can't be false to anyone else. So find out who you really are. Who did God make you to be? Some of you may be sitting here and you're listening and you're thinking, well, I'm just being myself. Well, you may not know yourself yet. You got to get rid of all the baggage and the layers that have been placed on you by academics and by social cultures, by race culture, by all these things, peer groups, and the person that you think you are may not be the one you really are, because the day you meet yourself is the day that your life will begin to change. So who are you really? I remember hearing Tony Robbins years ago, when after he had met Sage, his wife, and he said they were on a date and they were eating. He was a vegetarian, and she was eating a hamburger. She was not a vegetarian, and she was eating it, and they were talking about. I don't know the conversation now, but as she was eating the hamburger, she said to him, "You know what? This is not my hamburger." Like, she's eating it, but she's saying, "This is not my hamburger." She said, "This is my mama's hamburger. This is the way my mama always made the hamburger." So she didn't know her own hamburger. Some of you don't know your own hamburger because you're doing it the way mama did it. You're doing it the way daddy did it, or you're doing it the way your third grade teacher told you to do it, and you have not found your own way of doing things. And the best way I know of to unplug from all of the other systems of the world is to just stop and get into a place of silence through meditation, through the word of God, through prayer, and go on a journey, a real journey of self discovery. Back to you, Antoniette.
I'm going to share a story just because you've just inspired me to. So I observe the Torah, and we're just now coming off of some of our major holidays. So I had some friends over to dine with us in our sukkah, for those who understand what that is, and it really burdened my heart because it was a fairly young gal, probably in her 30s, who came and joined us. It was my first time to meet her, and she was proceeded to share how she had lost her husband, and she had felt very lost since she lost her husband. And so she's on Christian Mingle, to not no diss to Christian Mingle, but that lends to the story, to find a husband, because she needed to find a husband to fulfill her purpose, which she really felt like was a prophetic ministry. She's very powerful, has a very powerful evangelistic message. She was really powerful when she would share the word, and the stories that she had of her experiences and how God weaved his love throughout all of these different journeys that she had been through. And I stopped her. I said, why do you think you need somebody else to empower you to do the thing you are called to do? You have God. He is right there by your side. If you go over here and try to find somebody, they're going to be on their own path. If you do what God has told you to do, what he's guiding you to do, the right person will come along who's also on that path. She was just, I didn't mean to upset her, but she was just in tears because it never even dawned on her
Mhm.
that she had enough power as a woman to fulfill her God-given inspiration, right? Her
Yeah,
God-given gifts, her God-given purpose. It
yeah,
never even dawned on her that she did not need somebody else, a man,
yeah,
to be able to step into that role. We have the greatest source that we need, right?
yeah.
Everything that we need is already in us. So I just would love to speak to your viewers, because I just have a sense that there are some right now watching this who are in waiting mode. They
Mhm.
have a call, they have a vision, but they're waiting. What are you waiting for? You already
Yeah,
have everything you need. Everything you need, you already have. Don't wait one more moment.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And there are those who You know that God has called you. You know it in every fiber of your being, but you're waiting for somebody else to tell you that it's okay. So Antoniette has just told you that it's okay for you to step out of the boat, walk on the water. Believe me, that the one who created the water already knows that he's called you out to walk on the water. So there's no downside to that offer. There's no downside to your calling. Nothing but good can happen to you when you move in that energy of the calling, when you move in that energy of your mission, because there's a place for you. And you may turn on your computer or television and oh, there's so many out there. There's so many people doing this and so many people doing that. Why would I add? Well, you know what? Your voice is unique. Your calling is unique as your fingerprint. You matter. Your voice, what your story is unique. And somebody needs to hear your story. Again, in your story is your glory. Waiting, that is so powerful, because waiting, it depicts that you're in expectation of something, but you're always waiting for it and it never comes. I Your friend who was waiting or looking for someone else to fulfill a void, she did not realize there wasn't a void, that the void that she thought was there was in her own mind, that
Yeah.
she's always been whole, nothing missing and nothing broken, as many of you are right now. Antoniette and I are speaking directly to your heart. See, we're heart-centered people, and we're speaking to the heart. From the heart goes to the heart, to let you know, if you're single or married, it doesn't matter. Whatever you've been called to do, trust God. Be a person of faith and just do it. Just do it, because He'll be there waiting for you as you step out of your comfort zone and realize that there's something greater there for you. And Antoniette.
I 100% echo everything that you said. Um, there is there's a time for sowing and a time for reaping, right?
Yes.
So do your homework, get the facts straight, and then do the thing. So you've heard of career college goers, like career students. We're
Mhm.
always a student, but it doesn't mean that becomes our career. You
Yeah.
learn and do. So just go out there, do it imperfectly. It's okay. That's your greatest university. You'll refine along the way. You know what that calling is. You know what that thing is that you've been wanting to do, whether it's to write a book or to start a ministry or to start a small group, whatever it might be, start a small business.
Yeah.
But just like you, Dr. Faye, you said there was just something nagging at me that kept me from really pushing through sooner. There is no more time. People need your voice right now. Do you know that mental health is at an all-time low,
Mhm.
sadly? Well, I believe that, of course, a lot of that comes from people just feeling lost, not
Yeah.
having a direction, not having a savior, not having a compass that that's saying this is the way. And
Yeah.
so many of us, that's all they need to hear is our story and of our point of view, our perspective.
Mhm.
Somebody who might hear my story can just go on and maybe get a few tidbits of it, but it is not life transforming. Whereas your story, for some reason, it hits a chord and it completely transforms their life, and vice versa. We don't know. All we know is we've been given our unique place in this world, and it's up to us to stand in it. God's not going to make us stand in our place in this world. He gave us the place. Now we need to step into it and stand in it.
Yeah. And nobody is better than you.
Right.
Nobody. You're you, and you're unique, and you are blessed to be breathing on this planet right now. And when we look at the stats of the number of people that COVID was merciless to, but yet mercy still abides in your life. God has given you another opportunity. And you're asking God, give me a chance. This is it. This is it. Listen, you just have to use what's in your hand. What God told Moses, why are you crying to me, boy? Use what I gave you. Use the gift that's in your hand because I've given you something. And in your hand means within reach. It is within reach. You may think it's unobtainable because you've been comparing your stuff with somebody else's stuff. Antoniette mentioned the big house. You know, once you get the big house, you still got to have something bigger. Once you get the car, you still got to have something else. That's why you see some videos and people got 10 or 12 cars because enough is never enough because there's something missing. Some people applaud that, Antoniette, but I'm thinking, gosh, you can only drive one car. So what are we missing here? What are we really reaching for? Where are we trying to go? And they're looking for God, but in all the wrong places. In another Lamborghini or Maserati, they're looking for God in the Rolls Royce. There's nothing wrong with you having a Rolls Royce or a Maserati, but what I'm telling you, don't get caught up in that because somebody flashes hundreds of thousands of dollars in front of the camera and you think, oh man, I want to do that. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't want to do that.
You want to see the people with the biggest problems and the most broken down families and the biggest addiction issues and all of above. It's usually those who are making the upper echelon dollars. I'm not saying that that can't be a great thing, but
Right.
for the most part, most of us can't handle it. And why would you want to? There's so much beauty in this world. Why have to worry about that as being your main focus? You said something that I really wanted to touch on, and that was comparing yourself to other people. When you compare yourself to somebody else, you're basically telling God that he didn't do a very good job on you. For
Hmm.
some reason, he did an extra good job on the other person, and then he just got lazy and just didn't do a great job on you, right? Which
You
is
ran out of play.
being ran out of time, which is obviously absolutely ridiculous. And you also mentioned the word opportunity. The opportunity to get your voice out there has never been. I mean, COVID came with a bunch of tragedy, but it also came with some gifts. One
Yeah.
of the gifts is pre pre-pandemic, there was about 7,500 speaking opportunities in a given day going on. Now that has quadrupled, if not even more. The opportunities are endless. There is no, you have everything at your fingertips, literally. Just turn on a camera, whether you want to start a business, whether you want to start a ministry, whether you want to write a book, whether you just want to get your message and your story out there. You have more than anybody in history or time before us has ever had. And really, you don't even need to move from where you're sitting right now to get that message out there and to start doing that thing that it is that you know that you're called to do.
Isn't that beautiful? And even in writing a book, you can self publish so easily that it's ridiculous not to write a book if you feel like that's part of your calling to write a book. If you want to coach, then by all means, just begin to move in that direction. And having said that, Antoniette and I both can share our stories with you, but we both have been in coaching programs, are in coaching programs, have mentors, because we understand the value of having someone there that can help you to kind of put the pieces together, because there are so many things out here is that can definitely distract you. And so what coaching does, it helps you to pull all of those pieces together and create a package, create a program that you can move forward. It's like when the cars come down the assembly line, you can't just throw the steering wheel out there. You can't just throw the motor out there, even though they're both very, very valuable parts, components of the automobile. you got to have all the parts. You got to have all the pieces. And that's what good quality coaching programs will do. And not every one is for every coaching program is for everybody, but God will lead you and guide you and direct your steps. And of course, right here on Curves, we introduce coaches and entrepreneurs, people that you can see and hear their story and relate to in some way, so that maybe their mission, maybe Antoniette's mission, is a part of your mission. And you come in, and we're on the Antoniette and I, we're playing on the same team. We're God's team people. So we are here to help and support each other. So if Antoniette is offering you something that is resonating with you, then I want you to be able to link up with her and have a conversation. Let me tell you, she's one of the most authentic people you will ever meet. I promise you that. And let me tell you, whatever comes out of her mouth will be the truth. And she will not mislead you. You can believe me on that one. So there are voices out here that I want you to get connected with, and you can see her contact information on the screen. And I wanted to share that with you because you can spend a lot of days toiling all night and catching nothing, chasing different programs, spending tens of thousands of dollars, going in debt, and still not have your program, still not have your plan in place. I don't want you to do that. Antoniette does not want you to do that. We want you to finally just don't do the stuff that we know we did in order to get to this place. We want to save you some time and save you some money. So we're bringing curves to you with voices like Antoniette Rose that can help you to move past a lot of the noise and get on with God's plan at hand. Antoniette, go ahead. Back to you.
You are absolutely right. We can circle that mountain and circle that mountain and circle that mountain, or we can just grab onto a Sherpa, a guide, a mentor, and get straight to that pinnacle, that summit, so that when we get there, we can see the next summit that God has for us. There's one through line for every major thought leader, for every major successful person that you've ever heard of. Think of the most successful person that you can think of, and the one through line from a successful person to a successful person is they themselves have mentors and coaches that lead them to their next level. This I need to come up with a better way to come up with this terminology, but new level, new devil, right? So we're right here. We get a mentor that takes us right here. Well, then we get to see the new vistas. And how are we going to get there? Hopefully it will never end. Hopefully you'll always be growing and
Yeah.
progressing. And the way to do that, the surest way to do that, is to stop circling the mountain, grab onto your guide, your mentor, and go straight up.
And I believe that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to increase, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, continually grow and evolve. And it doesn't mean that we didn't get value out of the previous program. We did, because that's what pushed us to this next level. There were challenges that pushed us to the next level. And so, and it doesn't stop. Of this kingdom there is no end. When you're operating within kingdom principles, following God's law that he's placed in your heart, then you will always be called. The scripture says deep calls unto deep. God is always calling us into deeper places. We never know it all, and we never outgrow God. So we're always growing. So find that place to start. There is a beginning place. It's just like academics. You start in pre-K, you go to K, you go to one, you go to first, second, third grade, and you go through this process. And each grade level has its own curriculum. And then you graduate high school, go to college. It has its own curriculum. It's a different world. So you continue to move forward, and you never stop growing. You never stop learning, because the world is continually changing, and we have to change with it, not our souls, but change with it how we do business and how we move forward. I want to share this one story, and I was sharing this with some coaches a few months ago, how God has placed so much value on coaches. When Esther was an orphan. Here she is out there gathering, and I can imagine what an orphan looked like in her day, not belonging to anyone, but having Mordecai to mentor her and to take her into his own home as the first of kin to be able to watch after her. And she struggled through that process. I can just imagine her struggles and not knowing, I don't have my father, I don't have my mother, what's going to become of me. But all that time, God had positioned Mordecai in a place where he could overhear some things. He wasn't eavesdropping, he just kind of overheard some things. And it led him to know that the king was looking for a queen. And you Bible scholars, you know the story. The Queen Vashti had disobeyed her husband, and so they booted her out of the kingdom. But that vacancy was there because there had to be a vacancy, because God had a plan to put somebody on that throne. You think God doesn't create vacancies? Oh yeah, he does. He created that vacancy because he knew that the moment would come where he had somebody in mind. I'm going to take you somewhere with this in a moment. And so Esther was part of the contest for the queen. So she was brought in to the kingdom, and she paraded before the king like all of the other young women did. And she found favor in the eyes of the king. There was a man that was there as part of Esther's entourage that didn't get a lot of recognition, but he should. He was the eunuch. The eunuch was a key member of that kingdom. And what the eunuch did for Esther is what a coach can do for you. The eunuch took 2 years. He taught her how to dress. He taught her how to walk, how to talk. He taught her how to curse. He taught her how to be a queen, because she did not know how to be a queen. She was an orphan. So he taught her, he coached her, he mentored her. The eunuch was her coach, because the eunuch brought her from being an orphan to being a queen. He brought her from being a tattered little girl into being a royalty with a crown. That's what a coach will do for you. When God connects you with someone, and the eunuch had no personal interest except that he was doing his job. He understood what she needed to do. She found favor with him because she was poised and ready. She wasn't distracted by anything else. She didn't have a mama to go home to. She didn't have a daddy to go home to. She stayed focused on the mission at hand. She caught the eunuch's eye. She caught the coach's eye. So when what God had joined, let no man put asunder. You can use that across different patterns in life. But this eunuch was a coach. He taught her and gave her the tools that she needed. Matter of fact, he gave her extra, so that when she walked into the room, the king had to just stop what he was doing and look. If you want to gain the attention in the marketplace, darlings, you've got to engage a coach, someone that can take you from where you are to where God has called you to be. And Antoniette, anything else?
I don't know how to follow up that story. That is an excellent illustration and so true. And we think about even David and his what was it, Nathan, who had to somehow let him know that he was going down a wrong path in a way
Yeah.
that wasn't going to kill him, right? And he
Yeah.
was wise enough to be able to impart really important information to a king,
Mhm.
and it changed the course of not only David's life but also history for all mankind. So
Yeah.
I would just like to close with this. You have no idea the effect that you will have, not just right now, not just today, not just in the next 5 years, but that will ripple through decades that long surpass your time, your short time here on this side of eternity. You have no idea. And every day that you miss getting your mission out there and getting your voice out there and making your business the most successful it can be is another day that ripple doesn't get to experience its own fullness.
Mhm.
So focus more on those people who need you, who need your message, who need what it is that you have to offer, who need your solutions, who need your inspiration. Focus on that far more than you're focusing on getting perfect, getting ready with the setup. Forget the setup. Do it. Get your
Yeah.
basics down. Do it. And the God will meet you at each step. He'll meet you at each step.
Absolutely. Start where you are. Start where that's what I did. Just started where I was. And then other things just started happening. Faith without corresponding action is dead. Just show up. Just show up. And I promise you, when you show up, God will show up. And you will see that you're not in this alone. You're never alone. Antoniette, I knew this was going to be a great conversation. I was looking forward to it. I'm always looking forward to spending time with you. This has been an extra special blessing, and I so appreciate your taking time to be with us today. I know how busy you are, but I do want to leave the audience with specifics from you about what you do, and again, and how you can help our audience get to their next level.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Dr. Faye, it's an honor always to be in your presence and certainly to be on this important show. So I will support it in any way that I can for as long as you do it. And I hope that it's a very long time. So essentially, if you are in the health and wellness space, whether you help people live better lives or you are an actual practitioner, I want to help you get your voice to a global audience and in a more powerful way. So if you are interested in learning more about what I have to offer, I have free labs, I have free resources, and then I also have a year-long program where you can work with me. I do have a lab that's coming up. It's called Land Gigs. It's my Land Gigs framework that cuts all the guesswork out of getting those right fit appearances. What you can do, there's several ways that you can reach me. Probably the best thing you can do is go to Wellness Productions Co. Wellness Productions with an S co.com. You can sign up for my free downloadable gift right there. Top ways to get on wellness shows. And from there, I'll make sure you know when my next lab is coming up. It'll be probably in about 3 weeks. We're still nailing down the date. It's free, it's powerful, and I would love for you to be there.
Wonderful, wonderful. I would love for me to be there. I hope my schedule can slide me in to one of your labs because I know it's going to be phenomenal. Antonia, thank you. You see, finally got your name right
You got
somewhere
it.
in the middle of the show.
My closest friends just call me A. So just call me A.
Oh my goodness. But what a blessing. Folks, I'm telling you, the more I do these shows, and listen, we're just getting started and we're just so excited about it because it is a clear mission with a clear objective. And so I'm excited about that. Antoinette, if you hang out with me for just a moment, as we continue to evolve in this world, God wants us to connect. The Apostle Paul told us that we're not in this alone. We're all members of one body. And the foot can't say to the hand, I don't have need of you. So I'm not going to tell you I don't need you. Yeah, I do. I need you. I need you. I need you and you and you and you and even you folks in the back. I need you to come forth. We here at Curves need you. Christian Women Television Network needs you. So we're here to serve you in the highest and best way possible to help you amplify your voice and make an impact on the entire world. The world's waiting on you. You heard what Antoniette said. You matter. You matter to us and you matter to God. So stop waiting. Stop it. Get out of your waiting shoes and start putting on your glory shoes. It's time to get moving. So it's a blessing and a privilege always to be here with you. Don't forget to contact Antoniette because she'll be waiting to hear from you. Make sure you tell her you saw her on Curves. And we will love to hear from you as well. So you can contact me at coach@drfaye.com and you'll see that in the outro. So hang around, watch the outros, and we will see you next time right here on Curves.
The woman's global influence has yet to be realized. Curves offer Christian women entrepreneurs the opportunity to share their mission-driven and heart-centered businesses while staying true to their calling. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, contact us today at coach@drfaye.com. That's coach@drfaye.com.
Thank you for watching today's show. All of our programs are designed to help you create the life you were born to live from the inside out. The show you have just seen is an example of the quality and standard of care we here at CWTVN put into creating a media atmosphere that transcends boundaries and ignites transformation. We would love hearing from you. Contact us at 1-877-870-7579 or email at host@CWTVN. All donations can be sent using Cash App at DrFaye TV, PayPal at paypal@drfaye.com, or mail to P.O. Box 251, Stuttgart, Arkansas 72160.